picture this. You've just arrived at your hotel room after a long day of travel. You unpack your bags, you take a deep breath, and you head into the bathroom. And there they are, the tiny bottles of shampoo and conditioner and body lotion, all neatly lined up, promising a touch of luxury and convenience during your stay. And they seem harmless, even charming, don't they? But here's the thing. Those tiny bottles represent a much bigger problem. Because every year, billions of travel minis are produced, billions with a B, and used, and they're discarded. And they're part of the hospitality industry's effort to meet guest expectations, yet most of them end up as waste. So a single 200-room hotel is estimated to use, get this, around 300,000 pieces of single-use plastic every single month. Their small sizes often makes these travel minis difficult or impossible to recycle. And the sheer volume of their production is staggering. So why do we still have them? Well, hotels argue that they are what guests expect, and brands see them as valuable exposure, which I totally get. Yet, in an era where sustainability is no longer a luxury, but a necessity, it's worth asking, at what cost do we continue this cycle of convenience? And perhaps more importantly, is it time for all of us, hotels, brands, and consumers alike, to rethink our relationship with these tiny little plastic hotel and travel minis? And that's what I want to explore on the podcast today. Hi, it's Lorraine Dallmeier, chartered environmentalist, biologist, and CEO of award-winning online organic cosmetic formulation school, Formula Botanica. I host the Green Beauty Conversations podcast, and these are my Green Beauty opinions, in which I challenge the beauty industry's terrible track record on sustainability and share my thoughts on how we make the beauty sector a better and sustainable place. If you want to be the first to hear all of my latest episodes, make sure you subscribe to this podcast. So let's talk about the ethical dilemma of travel minis. Firstly, let's start with some good news, because some progress has been made on this, and that's great. In California, for example, legislation has already banned plastic travel minis in hotels, forcing hotels and establishments to switch to more environmentally friendly alternatives, such as refillable dispensers. And some major hotel chains like Intercontinental and Marriott, they are following suit, collectively eliminating hundreds of thousands of kilos of plastic annually. But the question remains, why are we still so reliant on these tiny, convenient bottles? It's not just hotel chains, after all. It's also pharmacies and shops, and everyone's encouraging you to buy lots of these minis before you travel anywhere. So last week, I interviewed Andrea Endres, who is a specialist in holistic travel, and we talked about the complex world of travel, beauty, sustainability. We discussed refillables, local sourcing, and the challenges that brands face when trying to get into hotels. It was a really insightful conversation, and if you missed it, I do encourage you to go back and listen to that episode. And what struck me was that these travel minis are such a big part of this industry. So I really wanted to talk about them today in this episode. Because travel minis are a perfect example of how convenience often outweighs sustainability. These tiny bottles, while very handy, let's face it, they do contribute massively to the plastic waste problem. And according to estimates, the hospitality industry alone generates billions of these miniatures annually. Most of them end up in landfills or worse, in our oceans and waterways, where they can take hundreds of years to degrade. So here's the ethical dilemma. Should brands continue to provide these minis to meet consumer expectations, or should beauty brands take a stand and eliminate them altogether? Replacing them with refillable dispensers is one option, and we're already seeing some forward-thinking hotel chains making that switch. But there is still resistance, because guests often perceive refillables as less luxurious, or possibly they even worry about hygiene. Another issue is the disconnect between luxury and sustainability. So high-end hotels and airlines and cruise companies, they frequently partner with big-name beauty brands to provide luxurious minis as part of the guest experience. But is this luxury worth the environmental cost? So I traveled first class recently, and I had a whole bag of Wren goodies practically showered over me. And then they tried to give them to me again on the way back. And, even as I'm recording this podcast episode, I still have some of them lying here on my desk because I simply couldn't get through all of them. And clearly it was totally my mistake for having accepted them in the first place. I get that. I accept that. But you know what? You get swept up in the excitement of the freebies. So I think the solution has to come from both the brands and the hospitality industry. Everyone needs to step it up and rethink their role in this cycle of waste. It's not just about swapping plastics for refillables or creating solid products, although those things are great. Instead, it's about leading a cultural shift in how we approach travel beauty altogether. So the entire industry, from indie brands to global giants, they have to innovate beyond convenience, and they have to embrace sustainability at its core. This means designing multifunctional, low-waste products using biodegradable, circular materials, and challenging the outdated idea. And it really is an outdated idea that luxury equates to excess. If the beauty industry wants to stay on the map in an eco-conscious world, no pun intended, it's time to chart a new course, because true beauty doesn't just look good, it leaves a lighter footprint. So here's my challenge to you. Next time you travel, bring your own toiletries in reusable containers. Show hotels, show brands that you value sustainability over convenience. If you're a beauty brand owner, think about how you can innovate in this space. How can you create products that work for travelers without contributing to the growing waste problem? It is time to rethink what we define as luxury in travel beauty. Thank you for listening to my Green Beauty Opinions. Remember to visit the Formula Botanica website at formulabotanica.com to try our free online formulation course. If you haven't subscribed yet to the Green Beauty Conversations podcast, please do so now in your favorite podcast app and leave me a 5-star review if you enjoy these discussions. I'll be back soon with my next episode.